welcome to another edition of SJHL Weekly, but this time we are live from the Legends Center here in Warman at the SJHL Showcase. It's Rory McGoran, Jeromy Corrigan. Thank you so much for joining us. And Rory, it's just great to be back at the showcase.
It's amazing to be back. You see these stands littered with scouts. We just had all the schools come down, about 300, 400 school kids down, cheering on the Broncos and the Ice Wolves, which is taking place right behind us. But 2 games yesterday, they were fantastic. Yorkton and LaRange both pick up victories. We got 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow, 2 more on Wednesday. Yeah, it's a great week, and I'm so happy to be back at the showcase. And we got a lot to talk about.
I was worried that we wouldn't be able to hear ourselves with how loud those kids were.
The energy was great.
It was unreal for the first half of the game. Obviously, the kids got to go back to school, unfortunately. But yes, we have a lot to get into. Obviously, a busy weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We had games Friday, Saturday, and obviously the showcase started on Sunday. So let's start on Friday. 4 games on tap, 4 big games, and we alluded to it last week. It was really rivalry night, Friday night in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. As you can see on the board, our weekend recap presented by Sask Lotteries. The LaRange Ice Wolves knock off the Flynn Flawn Bombers 2-1 in a shootout. A big win for Wayburn, 9-2 over Estevan. Battleford doubling up Melville 6-3, and Humboldt with that 7-4 win over Melford. But let's start at the top. The LaRange Ice Wolves are currently on the ice right now. They took on the Flynn Flawn Bombers in a very tight game, but a big win for LaRange on the road, bouncing back after that tough game against Melford. Yeah,
you were at the game and you saw the intensity when those 2 teams meet at either the Mel or the Whitney Forum in Flynn Flawn, one of the most historic buildings. Of course, you were at the Whitney Forum, but very tight checking. A lot of shots also for both sides. First off, there's a bunch of people I want to give credit to on the LaRange Ice Wolves. And I think it starts with Kyle Schneider,
100%.
Their assistant coach, but he's manning the head coaching position for the first 10 games of the season due to Kevin Kaminsky's suspension. And that is a tough mountain for a player that just was in the league 3 years ago, last year's first year as assistant, and now coming into his second full year, and already he's got to take the helm for the first 10 games and get the Ice Wolves rolling. Kyle Schneider deserves all the credit in the world
100%.
Because a great start for LaRange. Yes, they are trailing in the game behind us right now 5-2, but he deserves all the credit. And how about the emergence of Dawson Smith, the goaltender for LaRange, stops 42 of 43 against the Flynn Flawn Bombers, and he's right up there in the, last year Xavier Academy played a lot for LaRange. Dawson Smith got in sometimes, but he's really showing now, and it's his time to shine for the LaRange Ice Wolves. He's taken over.
Yeah, and you have to think, too, with that last year, getting into as many games as he did last year, that's going to only help him being thrusted now into the starter's role, getting that experience last year at the Junior A level as an 18-year-old. And he looks very confident in between the pipes, and we saw it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the list of goaltenders right now in tops of save percentage. I think you have Dawson Smith, Josh Kotai in Battleford's, Caleb Allen, Harmon Laser-Hume. They all have over 940 save percentages.
It's unreal.
So at the start of the season's been kind of compressed in terms of in terms of goal scoring. And a lot of these goaltenders are, they're running away with starting jobs, and that's what coaches like to see. Dawson Smith's doing it for Kyle Schneider right now, and then in a few games, Kevin Kaminsky, of course, will be back at the helm.
All right, let's get to the next game on Friday. It was the Wayburn Red Wings over the Estevan Bruins. And I don't know if anybody saw that score coming. A 9-2 win for the Wayburn Red Wings over their Highway 39 rivals. And you have to think for that Wayburn Red Wings organization and for the coaching staff, the players returning, after all those games last year, that, the Estevan Bruins came out on top with big wins over Wayburn. You had to think that first game against their Highway 39 rivals, they probably had marked on their calendar and ready to go, and they proved it.
Yeah, they absolutely did. 9 goals scored against the Estevan Bruins, and 3 of them by Kirk Mullen, who we talked about last week on the show, who only played half the year for Wayburn after being acquired from the AJHL. So he's now showing, just like Dawson Smith is in LaRange, that he's one that you got to circle on your lineup if you're an opposition coach every time you go up against the Wayburn Red Wings. But you got to give credit for Cody Mapes. Wayburn struggled last year and the year before. You know they were going to go through a rebuild. They've seemed to expedite that process because Wayburn now off to a strong start. And I think did they win a game against Estevan last year? If they did, it was 1 game.
Yeah.
And they are already with a big 9-goal lead over there over the Estevan Bruins. Home opener for Wayburn. I think their fans have every reason to be excited. On the other side, we talked about it last week after they lost the first 2 games to Yorkton, and we're like, no, it's too early to panic. Is it now? I mean, we can ask Superfan Carl down in Estevan.
Yeah.
I think he's already hit the panic button, but what's happening there?
I think we'll have to see after the showcase. I would like to see them. I haven't seen them yet live in person. I'd like to see them live before we, maybe lightly touch the panic button. But obviously a huge injury earlier this week for Cam Hrdlicka in between the pipes. So we'll see how it works out for the Estevan Bruins here at the showcase. Obviously they take on Humboldt tomorrow, and then they close out the showcase against Nipawin on Wednesday.
So right now you're still staying even keel when you're talking about the Estevan Bruins.
I don't want to hit the panic button on any teams yet until after the showcase. I think
that's fair. Yeah.
I don't like. My personal opinion is you got to wait till 10 games to get a fair judgment of some of these teams. You got to let them gel a little bit. But yeah, there is definitely a little bit of cause concern for sure.
But how about this fact? I mean, we touched on Larange, but we didn't hit too much on Flynn Flawn. They're averaging the least amount of goals per game in the league at 1.7. Not enough for Mike Reagan and the Flynn Flawn Bombers. You mentioned they've only scored 5 goals. 4 of them have been by one player in Cole Duperow.
And one was an empty netter.
So they need to find more offense. And the two teams that were in the SJHL finals, played in the Centennial Cup, are starting from behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on in the show. It's definitely an interesting time for the two teams that were in the Centennial Cup for sure. Next matchup to get to on Friday was the Battleford North Stars against the Melville Millionaires. A 6-3 win for Battleford, highlighted by a massive third period by Battleford. They score 5 of their 6 goals. And, they're one of 3 teams right now in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League who don't have any blemishes on their record, and they're off to a great start. Yeah,
Battleford's is rolling. Braden Klobosco's got them tuned in. There was an injury to Lowen Kenyon, one of their goaltenders. We didn't know who would start. Josh Kotai has run away with it.
Unreal.
Talking to Jamie Neugebauer, who's just walking across our camera right there. He got to see Kotai in person as the Hounds played Battlefords. He said, this guy's going to be one of the elite goalies in the league. So Klobosco does it again, finds another one. We knew that their defensive pairing, all 6 of them were deep. We knew their forwards. If you stop the Southgate line, up comes Kessler. And if you stop their line, up comes their Kean Bell, a newly acquired player out of the QMJHL. You stop that line, then comes Klein and Holden Dole. It's wave after wave after wave. And there's really no surprise to me that they're starting off 4-0.
No, not at all. And the final game, the one that you got to see yourself firsthand, the Humboldt Broncos with a 7-4 win over Melfort. A highly entertaining game at the Northern Lights Palace, but another big win for the Broncos.
Yeah, 7-4. And Northern Lights Palace, we talked about the Whitney Forum. We talked about the Access Credit Union, I believe it's called now, in Battlefords. But
it's still the Civic Center to me.
It is Northern Lights Palace is one of the hardest buildings to win in.
Yes.
And the Humboldt Broncos, when they go up against the Mustangs, the fans travel well. The rivalry game is intact, and it always leads to a great game. Humboldt opened it up 2-0. Melfort closed the gap. Humboldt went back up by 2. Melfort got back with 1. Back up by it was back and forth the whole way. Funny thing is, though, when I look at these two teams, I see the best defense core in the league. Melfort and Humboldt, I would put 1-2. I put Battleford's right behind them. Very, very close between those 3.
Okay.
So you think it's going to be a smothering kind of, not a lot of grade A scoring chances. But sometimes when you have those 2 elite defense cores, they're both mobile. They both can move the puck quick. It actually has the adverse effect. And that's what we saw with 11 goals scored in Melfort.
Yeah, and it made for obviously a very entertaining game. Now, let's get to Saturday's scores. We'll get them on the board. Just the 2 games, cut back in half. There's only the 2 games on the schedule. We had Melfort against Humboldt, the return matchup, second half of the home, which Humboldt came out on top with a 3-2 overtime win. And then the Melville Millionaires finally they got their first win of the season with a 4-3 shootout win over the Kindersley Clippers. Let's start in Humboldt. You were at that game, obviously. It was exciting game, and I'm sure, obviously, the home crowd went home happy with a very exciting win.
Yes, the home sweep for the Humboldt Broncos to go to 3-0 on the season. This was the type of defensive structured game that we saw.
100%.
It was 1-0 all the way into the third period, and then a couple back-and-forth goals led it to 2-2, went into overtime. I got to give a shout-out to Leighton Halayan and Leith Olofsson, the top pair for the Melfort Mustangs. Halayan played 29 minutes in that game.
Wow.
Leith Olofsson played 27. The night before in Melfort, they were both around the 26-minute mark. So they're logging nearly half the game. If they're not the top pairing in the SJHL, they're number 2, number 3. They do everything for the Melfort Mustangs, and they're contributing on offense, both of them with a point-per-game pace. In Halayan and Olofsson, they generate that offense from the blue line and moves forward. And with those 2 defensemen, Melfort, yes, they only had the one victory, but they went up against Humboldt twice. They've already faced Flynn. They've had some tough games to start.
100%, yeah.
So no reason to panic in Melfort. They got one of the best D-cores. They got a great coach in Trevor Blevins and a really balanced offensive attack. I just think they ran into a Humboldt team that was, ready to go a little bit more in those two games.
And like you mentioned, obviously, they started the year in Flynn-Flawn against the Flynn-Flawn Bombers in their home opener. Essentially, they lost 2-0, but the second goal was an empty netter, so they really only lost 1-0. And then you get that home win. Yeah, they're 1-2-1, but no cause for concern for the Melfort Mustangs. They're still going to be one of the top teams in the league this year.
Yeah, and Humboldt Broncos, they get the overtime winner from their captain, Ethan Zilke, and behind us, I know we're going to get to it, he's got 2 goals in this game, so a great start for the newly anointed captain of Ethan Zilke, and a great start for the Broncos. They went 3-0.
Yeah, and then finally, let's get to that other game on Saturday. The Melville Millionaires getting their first win of the season over the Kindersley Clippers. A real back-and-forth game between these two hockey clubs. They really went punch for punch, and Melville getting their first win after, they're in the third time is the charm for the Millionaires as they get their first win, and a big win that was needed.
Yeah, and it was the Noah Wills show.
Yeah, it
was. We know how much talent Noah Wills has, couple goals and an assist, so that line's going to be generating most of the offense for the Melville Millionaires. Kindersley right in it again.
Yeah.
We saw it against Battleford's 1-goal game. Here against Melville, 1-goal game. Notre Dame, they're in the games. 100%. They're in the games. They just gotta find that way to get over that hump because they're still looking for that win.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's been a tough. Yeah, they've had a lot of close games. Other than that home opener in Battleford, they've been in every game, and I'm sure they'll be in the game this afternoon against the Yorkshire Terriers.
Right.
But let's get to the first day of the showcase yesterday. Obviously, it's the electricity in this building has been outstanding throughout the showcase so far. 2 games on tap yesterday, and it all started as the Larange Ice Wolves picked up a 4-1 win. A great performance by Larange. They saw the 4-1 win over the Kindersley Clippers, and Dawson Smith was outstanding.
Crazy.
Outstanding in that game against the Kindersley Clippers. And like you mentioned, obviously Kindersley still looking for that first win of the season, but they had lots of great chances, but Dawson Smith was there to shut the door.
Yeah, shout out to Larange again. The Wolves, they're getting it done, man. They're tough to play against. Their goaltending's there. We know that they're an in-your-face, run and gun, get the shots on net. Don't let anyone in front of the crease, right? They're gonna play mean. They're gonna play aggressive, and they're getting some offensive pieces. Bergerson coming over from the KIJHL in BC had a snipe last night. He's already got one today. He looks like a really good piece offensively for the Ice Wolves. And you mentioned it, Kindersley didn't have their greatest performance. They looked a little bit slow to start the showcase. Yeah. And I had this point talking to Jordan Fry, of course, one of the guys doing the broadcasts on Sasktel here at the showcase. It's a little bit of a different. We know the showcase comes in with plenty of scouts, plenty of eyes on you, right?
100%.
So it can increase the nerves a bit of the players.
100%.
If a team comes into the showcase where maybe they're in a little bit of a struggle already, like they're gripping the stick, the confidence isn't there, that's going to now increase those nerves even more because you're
100%.
trying to put on a show, but you know that the win is also important. It's a regular season game. If you're the Battleford's North Stars, if you're the Humboldt Broncos coming in, haven't lost, it seems like things are clicking already early. Does that, allow that extra breath before you come into a showcase knowing the eyes are on you? But hey, we're playing the right way. Stick to the way, and individual success will come with that.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing for, like you mentioned, the Kindersley Clippers right now. Obviously, they're on the other end of that spectrum. That's because they've been in 3 of the 4 games that they've been in. It seems like they're just not getting the bounces, and they're still looking for that elusive first win.
Well, and how about the tough schedule? I mean, they just play the Battleford's North Stars, and then they come in here. They're going to get an early game. They don't have the 7:30 game the next day, so it's 3 straight games in bang, bang, bang order. And it's tough. It's tough, especially when you're still trying to find that first win and get the consistency going. And they got some good pieces, but so they just got to find a way to get over that hump again.
Yeah, we'll see how much gas they have in the tank. Obviously, they're the next game on schedule, and they go up against the Yorkshire Terriers squad, who improved to 4-0 last night. A very impressive win over the Nipwin Hawks, a team that's, Nipwin's been putting the puck in the back of the net early on this season. And Caleb Allen standing on his head, and the Yorkshire Terriers improving to 4-0 with a big win. Yeah,
it was a huge win, and it's funny. Last year at the end of the year, we look at this game, and we're like, it's kind of a nothing game. Yorkton knew who they were playing in the playoffs.
Sure.
Nipwin knew they weren't in the playoffs.
Right.
And I was actually circling this one in the showcase as one of the most, I was like, this is a really tantalizing matchup here.
Right.
First day of the showcase. Both teams, I wouldn't say exceeding expectations. We knew, Yorkton, we just didn't really know who they were. They lost so many pieces.
Right.
Nipawin, we knew they were going to progress off their rebuild, but beating Estevan, beating Flynn-Flawn, so 2 big wins for them. I was really excited to see it. goaltending battle right through the Reed Lalonde for the Hawks, unbelievable. Caleb Allen, one step better.
Yeah.
And how about Caleb Allen even gets credited for a goal at the end of it?
Yeah.
I think it still stood, didn't it?
I think so.
So a goalie goal at the showcase, yeah, unbelievable.
A little bit of everything for Caleb Allen and the Yorkton Terriers yesterday, winning 3-0 and improving to 4-0, and well atop the Viterra division right now.
Yeah, and we'll talk about, we're getting Matt Hare, the head coach of the Yorkton Terriers, coming up next. And I have so many questions to ask him because we didn't know what Yorkton was, and the reason why. They lost Keyshawn Gervais, they lost Zach McIntyre, they lost Tyson Jansen, Parker Jasper, Tanner Sklaruk, Cale DePape, their star goaltender. It's like if you took that team last year and put a line under who's the best players on the team, they lost all of them.
Yep,
they're all gone.
100%.
Stephen Norum, they're all gone.
Yep.
So they either aged out or went somewhere else.
Yep.
So then they bring in, Pavel McKenzie comes in. They still have J.D. Hall, Maddox Nolsky. We just didn't know if they could, take over that supplemental scoring and lead scoring that they needed to. Well, 4-0, they've really proved us early that they can.
Yeah, us in the media, we had no idea what to think of.
I didn't know who they were. Yeah.
Nobody did. It was all of us in the media when it comes to the Yorkton Terriers. But we will get to Matt Hare after the break. But before we go to break, got to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors here to put on SJHL Weekly, and of course our other show, SJHL Insider, Chevrolet, Viterra, RBC, Sasktel, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and the Tourism Saskatchewan. It's been a great time so far here at the SJHL Showcase at the Legends Center here in Warman. But after the break, we will hear from Yorkton Terriers head coach and general manager Matt Hare, get his thoughts on the Yorkton Terriers' 4-0 start to the SJHL season. This is SJHL Weekly on all of the SJHL social media platforms.
Sasktel Be Kind Online wants to stop cyberbullying. Want in on the action? We award up to $1,000 for youth initiatives that help spread kindness and prevent bullying. What great idea do you have to help stop bullying? Sasktel can help. Go to BeKindOnline.com and apply for a grant today. Together, we can make a difference.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL and in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Make way for the first ever Chevrolet Silverado ZR2 with Multimatic shocks, rugged 33-inch tires, and front and rear electronic locking differentials.
Dude, this is awesome, but we should get back to work. This good? Perfect.
If you're gonna work remote, work remote. Find new workspaces. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Saskatchewan, you know Sasktel. Because we're everywhere. Keeping you connected. To your family and friends. To your history and culture. To those traditions that make us who we are. Sasktel cares. Always has, always will. Because we're dedicated to our home.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Welcome back inside the Legends Center. It's SJHL Weekly with Rory McGoran and Jeromy Corrigan, and we are pleased to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare. And every one of our coaches' convos this season is presented by the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Matt, thank you so much for your time, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, so far so good. Thanks for having me, and I just want to say great job on this show. It's been awesome so far.
We appreciate it. Well, first and foremost, we'll start easy. We'll give you a softball. What did you think of your team's performance yesterday in your first game at the Showcase?
Yeah, you know what? I thought we were good. I thought we struggled probably early on. Yeah. We were trying to do too much early on, which tends to happen at Showcase games. But we settled in and played our game, and I really liked our last probably 30 minutes, and especially our third period.
What's been the juice? 4-0 for the Yorkton Terriers. You go up against division rival and Estevan, take care of business, and since then, you keep rolling. A lot of us didn't really know what you guys kind of were entering the season because you lost a lot of your key pieces. But 4-0 start, you got to be happy with the way that those key pieces have performed.
Well, I've been bugging Noobsy that he has double down and putting us last place.
He did.
A fire under us. So, no, you know what? All 3 out of 4 games been 1-goal games, and I think that was difference last year. We were losing those games, but this group, it's really resilient and a lot more maturity there, and we're just finding ways to win those games, and it's paying dividends. And obviously, great goaltending with Caleb Allen's been huge as well.
All right, you brought him up. So let's talk about him. He's been outstanding for you guys. Obviously 4-0. He's been the starter in every game. Talk about your new netminder because he's been outstanding so far this year for you guys.
Yeah, he's a big kid from Colorado.
Yeah.
Not too many 18-year-old starters in the league.
No.
So, yeah, hats off to him the way he's been performing. We know every time he's in the net, we have a chance to win, and that's all you can ask for a goalie is give you a chance to win. And, he's been more or less stealing us games too, I think, early on. And, yesterday gets shut out, gets credited with a goal that Nipwin scored on themselves. So, what more can you ask? You have an offensive goalie now, too.
Yeah. I mean, when you look around the league, for fan bases that sometimes lose what they think is one of the best goaltenders in the league, Cale DePape, Race Ramsey, Cal Shell, Matt Pacenti, to name a few. What was the scouting situation like? Where did you discover Caleb Allen? Did you have him on your radar prior to the offseason, or was this something that just came up this summer?
No, there's a guy from Yorkton that lives in the States now that had been working with Caleb, so he's kind of on our radar, but we weren't really sure what the goaltending situation was. But, like you said, there are lots of goalies left this league, but there's a new wave of very good goalies coming in. So, and I think that's a good thing about the SJHL. There's always so much parity in it that, there's a great exposure here for especially at the goaltender level.
You touched on your returning players coming back and taking that next step. Maybe just speak to that returning core and how much they've grown to help you guys so far this year.
Yeah, it's starting this summer. We lost 2 key guys, and it was the returners that kind of banded everyone together and got them dialed in. Probably in July they were starting to talk and get everyone focused, and they've been great leaders. On the ice, off the ice, kind of in the community, everything you can ask for. They've really taken the charge, and you can't ask anything more of them. I've been very proud of the way that they've handled themselves, and I think it's showing how close-knit our group is early on, just with either results on the ice.
We mentioned close-knit, and we know that the players that graduated out or went somewhere else, it was a big list of Yorkton Terriers. When you look at the players you brought in, though, you notice that there's kind of pairs that have come from the same teams, 2 from Fort Saskatchewan, 2 from the SSAC Athletics, 2 from the Yorkton Maulers. Was that kind of a strategy to bring in a little chemistry and consistency, or did it just happen that way?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both. There's 2 guys on SSAC with Butts and Ruptash are really after. Same with McDonald and Van Brabrand. And, we did kind of think of that too. At least we're bringing some familiarity with, and we have Veldman and Bandura on Sherwood Park as well. That came in as a pair too. Yeah. So, they bring that close knit already, and they all played against each other last year too. So, they know each other and everything, and we got them kind of all talking in the summer and all already kind of forming a group, and got that connection going right pretty much after spring camp. So it was a great time for them to spend the summers kind of talking and bonding, and it's paying off early here.
I know you and I had talked about it last night after your win, but for the fans at home, maybe just speak to how, this year you're 4-0 to start the year, but you kind of won each game a little bit differently. How do you think that's beneficial for you guys moving forward to find different ways to win?
Yeah, I think you look at our, especially our forward group, you kind of look down the list and you know some names, but some names you don't know. And,
right.
But kind of our scouting staff knew we were going to be really deep up front. And, I was looking yesterday and I was kind of happy that, we're 4-0 and we don't have a single guy in the top 20 in scoring. You know, it just goes to show our depth because each line can score on any given night. We don't have to rely on one or two lines, and we have 4 lines that can roll, and we don't have a true, you know, number 1 line, number 4 line. It's whoever's going that night's going to play the most minutes, and you know, any line can really take over a game. So that's the way we wanted to form our team. Last year we definitely struggled to score goals, and it was defense first, and we knew kind of if we could get 3 goals, we'd be in good shape. Right. Where this year we want to bring in more skill, more depth, and be able to roll 4 lines every night.
You haven't gone away from the defensive smothering structure that we're used to seeing from Yorkton, clogging up everything in the middle, making it really hard to get secondary opportunities. And I know Caleb Allen's a big proponent of it, but you've allowed the least goals against per game in the league. It's a great start. Under 2 at 1.7, I believe it is goals per game. So you mentioned the depth up front, but what about your D-core? We know Tyson Perkins, and we know the returning guys that, you know, are going to be running for Defensive Player of the Year. But what can you tell us about some of these new guys, Logan Nimmo, Dalton Mays, that have come in, and you know they haven't missed a beat?
Yeah, you know, I think it was you saying it last night that Dalton Mays is a point per game. That he stepped in as a 19-year-old, and you know he's done everything we could ask for him. Kind of replacing Jasper's role with the power, like leading the power play and getting some points. And defensively, he's been great. We want to bring in guys that can skate and be mobile, but think D first. And you know, same with Logan Nimmo. He's been a great find for us, and he came in kind of halfway through the preseason, and he's been steady. He's really elevated his game, and he keeps on getting better every day. And guys with like Tyson Perkins, they've been leading the way as well. So we're really happy with our D-core, and you know, I think. The way we wanted to recruit our forwards is we want defensive forwards as well. So, you know, play as a 5-man unit, and like you said, kind of play that smothering defensive style that takes away the neutral zone.
Do you think Dalton Mays, I mean, you know, it's his first year in the SJHL. It's a totally different style of hockey from United States High School Prep League, right? Do you think he's just kind of having his eyes sort of open and what he's able to do on the ice in the first 4 games? I think he's one that can really, I mean, open the eyes around people around the league come game 10, 15 maybe.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I think it was 2 games in. He had 2 fights in preseason. So the second he lost that cage, he was right into the mix. And he's just an all-around defenseman. He's still finding his groove. Like you said, it's only 4 games in his junior A career. So, you know, we expect him to continue getting better just like everyone on our team. But, yeah, you know, I think the ceiling's very high for him.
Yeah. Now, the Yorkton, obviously, you guys are 4-0, but I'm sure there's some things you would like to improve on. So what are those things?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. You know, just for the fans at home, they have a perfect record, but they're nobody's perfect.
Yeah, no, you know, I don't think our puck control is that great right now. We're having way too many turnovers. I think we're trying to be too cute in the neutral zone where, you know, instead of just chipping it past defensemen, we're trying to toe drag defensemen. And early season kinks that I think most teams go through, and you want to get those kind of out of your system. And, you know, you always want to aim by March you're playing your best hockey. So we just want to keep on getting better, you know, defensively in the neutral zone and offensively every day here.
I want to move, of course, to the showcase. We talked about the game that you just, you know, your first victory here. You're going to play the Kindersley Clippers coming up. The next game today starting at 1:30, so make sure you tune into that. But what's your message for the players coming into the showcase? There can be elevated nerves knowing that the scouts are here, full barn, you're being evaluated. Do you have any certain kind of words of wisdom for those players to kind of calm them down a bit?
Yeah, you know, yesterday I just said, I don't know what it is about showcases, but everyone thinks that, you know, all scouts want to see is highlight reel goals, where that's not the case, you know. They want to see smart hockey players, high hockey IQ, protect the puck when you have it, play good without the puck, and play simple. I think the simple hockey is better hockey. They don't need to see backhand sauce passes getting picked off through the middle. They want to see good hard plays and you know, good hard hockey plays.
Do you think coming into the showcase when your team has already found success makes it easier for your players than maybe a team that is, you know, looking for their first win where they're gripping the stick? Your team is 3-0 coming in. Do you think that helps?
Yeah, you know, we've been on the other end of the stick the last, you know, 4 or 5 years where we start off about 2-8. So, and I know guys are gripping their sticks then. So, I think guys are definitely a little more relaxed. They're oozing with confidence right now. So, you know, I think that started in preseason. We ended, I think, with 3 or 4 wins in preseason too. So, after losing our first game. So it's, yeah, I think the confidence is definitely high right now, and, you know, we just have to keep on playing a smart game and keep that going.
What are your thoughts on the matchup this afternoon? The Kindersley Clippers, Rory just mentioned it, a team that's still looking for their first win, obviously a team you can't take lightly.
Yeah, you know, they have, I think, 2 shootout losses as well, and every game that they've played, they've been in. They're a very hardworking team. They just haven't really gotten that bounce to get them that win. So we obviously don't want to be the team to give them that first win. So we have to be prepared this afternoon. We don't come to play. They'll outwork us all game. And, like I mentioned to you last night, that's the best part of the SJHL is that, we don't have, a handful of teams where, it's a guaranteed win. There's so much parity in this league, and it just makes the league, great to play in, great to coach in, and great for the fans.
I guess finally, my final question for you, Matt. We'll go on a lot more lighthearted note, but it's a special year in Yorkton, 50th anniversary. What do you guys have all planned for, I guess, the 50th anniversary year, and how special is it to be a part of the 50th anniversary season in Yorkton this year?
Yeah, it's very special. It just goes to show how tight-knit the community is in Yorkton and how supportive they've been to keep junior A hockey alive and well for 50 years is a great accomplishment. And, we have 50th throwback jerseys to, the first ever symbol that they had. Before that, they just had kind of football numbers on their jerseys. So we were tempted to go with that, but we want to do more of a throwback to the first symbol that they had. And kind of throughout the year, our marketing director, Grayson Neufeld, has a couple things planned with the alumni, and we want to try to get some original Terriers that were there for that first team or first couple years involved, and whether it's doing puck drops or, any way we can involve them, we definitely want to do that.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and best of luck this afternoon against the Kindersley Clippers.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me.
That is the head coach and general manager of the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare, and after the break, we are going to announce this week's Players of the Week, and we'll preview the rest of the SJHL Showcase. This is SJHL Weekly on all of the SJHL social media platforms.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Coming in again, the Alpha. There comes Flawn.
There was a time when safety in hockey was an afterthought. Thankfully, times change. This is not the reality anymore on the ice. It shouldn't be here either. The SJHL is proud to partner with SCSA to spread the message of safety to help ensure that today and tomorrow are as safe as they can be.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly, live from the Warman Center for the SJHL Showcase, an outstanding chat with head coach and general manager of the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare. And of course, all of our coaches' conversations this year is presented by the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. And like we were talking to Matt, obviously they're very happy that they're 4-0, but they still have lots to work on, and they want to improve to 5-0 this afternoon. And we talked about all the new faces for the Yorkton Terriers, and it's amazing how quickly they've been able to gel because they played really well yesterday.
Yeah, they played fantastic, and it was they had to stay with that system because Nipawin, who's been so successful early with a 2-2 record, the shots were almost even throughout, 41-40, I think, by the end of the game. Reed Lalonde wasn't giving anything up to the Yorkton Terriers, neither was Caleb Allen to the Nipawin Hawks. So they just stuck with it. They kept pressing. And as Matt Hare mentioned, over the latter 30 minutes, you can kind of see them taking over a little bit more the majority of the game. And then that led to, their insurance marker late in the third period by the defenseman.
Yeah, and a big game, obviously, this
and
afternoon.
Dalton Mays,
yeah, a big game for them this afternoon against the Kindersley Clippers. And then we were just talking, actually, during the commercial break to Matt, they're going to have some time off after. So, yeah, I think it's about 10 days off.
October 7th, I think he said, was the next game. So, that's a long break after today's game.
Yeah, so they'll definitely get some rest, some much-needed rest for sure. That is going to be the next game on the ice. We'll get into today's games here at the SJHL Showcase in just a few moments, but we are going to announce the players of the week this week. It's very exciting for us to be able to do this on the show. It's a great time in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and I'm going to be honest, we had a difficult time picking players of the week this week because there was a lot of great performances. But we'll start with the SGEU MVP of the week, and it goes to the Battleford North Stars forward Stephen Kesslering, who had a great 2 games for the Battleford North Stars, 4 goals and an assist, and one of the top performers for the North Stars so far this season.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Steve Kesslering picks up a hat trick against the Notre Dame Hounds, follows up with another goal against the Melville Millionaires, but he's tied for the league lead in goals with 5. He's 1 behind Bryden Kiesman for the league lead in points with 7. Kiesman has 8. It was tough. There was a couple players you could have thrown out as runner-ups or right there. Noah Wills had a great year.
Noah Wills was outstanding, yeah.
But the Battleford North Stars haven't lost, and I think, that maybe gives an edge. We talked about the waves of forwards for Battlefords, that it just consistently rolls 4. You stop one, the other one's going to break through. And I know that me and you, when we did SJHL Insider on Thursday, when we profiled the Battleford's North Stars, I said, I don't know why Steve Kesslering doesn't get more credit around this league. When you talk about Battlefords, you talked about, Southgate and Dole and their defense, and years back, Grzybowski, the goaltender. But Kesslering's been there the whole time.
He has,
and he does everything right. He's so fast. He'll hit you against the boards. He scores. He's always on the right side of the puck as well defensively. I don't think he gets talked about enough, so him winning the MVP of the week, maybe that'll help spur the momentum for Steve Kesslering, and I think he deserves it. 4 goals and an assist.
And I just want to point out something that you kind of just touched on. When it comes to the teams that are still undefeated in the SJHL, there's a common theme here, the depth.
Yes.
Waves after waves after waves. The Humboldt Broncos, obviously the Battleford North Stars, the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare mentioned that. Obviously speak to that and how valuable that depth is for these teams that are obviously undefeated.
It makes line matching a nightmare for the opposing coaches, especially if it's a home game for the team that has the depth.
Yes.
Right, where the coach can get the last change. You never really know, you try to shut down, let's just take the Battleford North Stars, for instance, Southgate and Dole, like I said. Then comes Kesslering and Keaton Klein. They just acquired Kean Bell. It's just another offensive attack for the Humboldt Broncos. If you shut down Soretsky and Newens, then comes Ceccarelli and Zilke. Then comes Xavier Roy, QMG. It's wears down opposing defenses.
Yep.
And, for guys that are playing 24, 25 minutes a game, if you still have 4 lines of forwards who, are going to be fresh throughout 60 minutes, and you still put your top defensive pairing out there, it could be tough. By the time 10 minutes left in the third period, you're getting that wave coming and coming. If it's a 1-goal game, it's tough to handle.
100%. All right, let's move to Defenseman of the Week. And we're going to stay with the Battleford North Stars and Wilson Steele. Battleford, like you mentioned, undefeated so far this year. A lot of great performances so far from them, and Wilson Steele's one of them. Yeah,
Wilson Steele, second-year Battleford's North Stars defenseman, and we talk about Jordan Grill and Tanner Gold and Tynan Ewert with the Battleford's North Stars defense, but Wilson Steele had 3 assists this week. He's got 4 assists in 4 games, a point per game. One of the hot starts from the blue liner. I won't be surprised. We got 56 games. I don't know how many weeks are in the season. 22 maybe or something like that for players of the week.
Yeah.
Battlefords might take half of them by the end of it. They just got so many blue liners.
And we'll have to start keeping track.
Yeah, they might. They already started off with here 1 for 2, 50%.
Yeah.
And Wilson Steele with 3 assists deserves it.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to be one of the top teams this league. I mean, we've been talking about it. At the beginning of the season, they've proven it so far. They're going to be a tough team to beat so far this year in the SJHL.
Yeah, and it's always tough to pick, your players of the week, and you get so many performances.
Yeah.
So we do like to shout out others. Louis Frederick, the Bears, was close for the Melville Millionaires.
Yeah.
Jared Six for the Notre Dame Hounds had, I believe, 4 points in his couple games. So it was a tough one, but again, you got to win.
Yeah.
You got to win, and the Battlefords North Stars haven't lost, so Wilson Steele will get it.
Well, at least people know that's kind of the tiebreaker for us. It's, did your team end up winning the games? They did? All right, then you have a good chance of being named Player of the Week. The next one, probably not going to be a surprise. Sasktel Goalie of the Week is Caleb Allen. I mean, we talked about him with head coach and GM Matt Hare. He has been unbelievable for them in between the pipes to start the season. And I mean, yesterday he gets a 41-save shutout, and he also gets credited for a goal.
It's no surprise. It's definitely no surprise, but it wasn't without competition.
No,
and we'll get to that.
100%.
It was just Caleb Allen was that one step ahead. Was it the goal that helped him? I don't know. You can't take that away from him. It's on the stat sheet.
Yep.
He's got credit for the goal. But yeah, 41 save shutout. He's 4-0. He's played every game for the Yorkton Terriers.
Yep.
I know all of them weren't this week, but I know it could be demoralizing for a fan base. I'm sure the players in the dressing room knew who they had, but everyone in Yorkton maybe didn't. And Caleb Allen, when you lose Cale DePay, P1, Rookie of the Year in the Viterra Division
100%.
last year, he was one of the best goaltenders in the league. And that could just be like, ooh, man, we had our guy. He was a young goaltender. Well, they found another one in Caleb Allen. Yeah, 41 save shutout. He's 4-0. He's got the second best save percentage in the league. He already has a goal. The Yorkton Terriers are allowing the least amount of goals per game with 1.7. So all the credit goes to him.
I mean, and watching that game yesterday, he just looked calm, cool, and collect. Like, Nipawin definitely had their chances to put the puck in the back of the net. They had a bunch of odd man rushes, but it seemed like nothing could face him in between the pipes.
Yeah, he's boring in between the pipes, which is what you want for a goaltender.
100%.
Right? He just absorbs the puck. There's
100%.
no secondary opportunities. He's always in position, moves to the top of the crease, cuts down angles. He's just sound, steady. And I mean, goalie scouts always say big and boring's good.
Big and
boring. Yeah, that's cool, man.
And especially if they got good hands and they can handle the puck and catch it.
Another compliment. I mean that too by saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, let's get to, you mentioned without competition, because I'll be honest with you. After that game, the first game yesterday between LaRange and Kindersley, I thought 100% we were going to be locking in Dawson Smith as goaltender of the week for the LaRange Ice Wolves, because he had 2 games this week. He allowed a goal in each game. He had that 44-save performance up in Flynn Flawn on Friday that I was at. He was unbelievable. And quite frankly, in my opinion, he stole that game. Unbelievable week for him, and he was unbelievable again yesterday.
He's kind of been a surprise for me in the league. Xavier Academy, we talked about this in the first segment. Played majority of the games last year for LaRange. He was one of the elite goaltenders, battled a little bit of injuries. When Dawson Smith came in, showed samples of being good, but also struggled in a few games.
Of course.
He had a couple bad games where he allowed 7, 6, 8 goals, right?
Right.
So I didn't know. And he comes in this year, and he's proven that, one more year maybe of development. You talked to Kyle Schneider after their win yesterday, and he said no one works harder in the offseason. Yeah. No one worked harder in practice than Dawson Smith. So, yes, he's our runner-up this week because Caleb Allen just out-edged him. But, yes, he has surprised me. And, again, with his save percentage, what's he at? .952 on the season over the course of his games. He's going to be a big proponent for the LaRange Ice Wolves trying to get back into that playoffs.
And for me, I think with Dawson, the interesting thing is, you mentioned, obviously, Xavier Cannon went down last year. And I don't know if, when it comes to Dawson's development, if he would be where he is today without those games last year. Because he got into a lot of games last year as an 18-year-old essentially as a backup goaltender due to that injury.
Again, I think getting a taste of any SJHL experience, even if it's a few games, is paramount to be able to understand the game, understand what you need to do, your commitment to your body, to your craft, to your practice in the off season. And I mean, hearing from Kyle Schneider and seeing what Dawson Smith's doing this year, it looks like he was probably one of the hardest workers in the league in the summer.
I think there was a lot of, obviously this year, there was a lot of unknowns, I think, in between the pipes
100%.
across the league. A lot of new goaltenders. Dawson Smith was one of the few returning goaltenders, but he's definitely proved so far this year he's going to be one of the top goaltenders in the league this year.
We've lost so many of the big big names.
100%.
Like
no Cal Shell.
Race Ramsey, Cal Shell, Matt Pacenti and Kindersley, who I thought was a little underrated.
He
Kale
was.
DePape, Xavier Cannon. We listed half the
Boston
teams.
Billows,
Boston, 17 out of 12.
Unbelievable.
New goalie.
So many new goalies.
And I mean, look it down the list. Josh Kotai's coming in for Battleford.
Oh,
955. Harmon Laser Hume, right? He was in the league, but now he's on a new team for Flynn Flawn, replacing Cal Shell. 943. Caleb Allen, a 950. Dawson Smith, 952. The save percentages are crazy with these goaltenders that are coming in and really performing well.
Yeah, and shout out to Laser Hume, too, because in that Friday game against Laurent, he was also very good. I do believe he stopped 30 shots in that game, so it was unbelievable goaltender performance. All right, enough goalie talk. Finally, the Direct West Rookie of the Week. And this one, we are going to go to the Nipawin Hawks and Francois Xavier Bedard. Nipawin, a 3-game week, 2 against Estevan, getting the split, and then the unfortunate loss to Yorkton. But Bedard outstanding this week for the Nipawin Hawks.
Yeah, FX. I love the abbreviation of his name, FX Bedard. Apparently, it's a more common name than I thought.
I had no idea.
It is. It's apparently more common, but he's one that's come in. I saw him as the Broncos played the Nipawin Hawks in the preseason. And he's one that stood out. And he's small, he's shifty, he's cerebral, great little hands in tight, can work in and out of a phone booth of an area. And he's getting opportunities along the top 6 there for the Nipawin Hawks, which I think if you play with Kiesman or Dobson or any of those players that we know can generate offense, I think that, FX Bedard's had a strong week. Only a couple points, but there wasn't really any rookie that broke the door open this week. And
no, of course
FX Bedard just consistently proving that he's, one of the newcomers to watch this year.
And I think you touched on it really well there, is that he is going to get such a good opportunity with the Nipawin Hawks to play in that top 6 with some of those guys like you touched on, Kiesman, Buckberger, all that. And as a result, if they're going to play Tad Cozen hockey, they're going to be playing very fast, high-tempo games, and they're going to be putting a lot of pucks on net.
Nipawin Hawks had 16 goals coming into last night's game. They did get shut out to Caleb Allen, but they were 3rd in the league in goals for. We know we're just used to 11 years of Doug Johnson with a smothering defense, right? Maybe not a lot of shots on net. You can win by 1. You have an elite goaltender. Tad Cozen, he hasn't gone away from the defensive structure.
Sure.
Don't. I'm not saying that at all. He still has it. He's learned that from a half a year with Doug, and
100%.
Obviously played for him with the Nipawin Hawks. It's the ability to combine that and still have a little more aggression up front, a little more attack in the attacking zone. And I think it's been proven. They're 2-2. They've beaten, or 2-3 now, but they've beaten some tough teams, and they were 3rd in the league in goals for. So they can do it. They can do everything.
Yeah, they're fast. Yeah. They forecheck very well, and I think they're going to bounce back this year after a very tough year. They were very young last year too.
100%. Yeah. It's a rebuild that it's maybe some people thought would take a couple years, right? Because they were so young and they didn't score really any goals. They were, they struggled. Let's face
100%.
it. So it's tough to rebuild that over the course of one summer. It seems like they brought in some really nice pieces. They're another team. They've lost both goalies from last year. Harmon Laser Hume was traded out, and Chase Ham was also traded out. Yeah. So they got Reed Lalonde and McDowell in net, who I also saw in the preseason. I think they got 2 really good, capable goaltenders. Lalonde only allowed 3 goals, I guess. But basically, in my opinion, it was 1 against the Yorkton Terriers until the final minute of the game when Dalton Mays shot that point shot. He stopped 42 shots in that game. And, good goaltending. The defensive structure is going to be there from Tad Cozen, and with his little spice, putting in a little more offensive attack on it. I like Nipawin, man. I like Nipawin. Don't doubt him out.
Yeah, I talking to some of the people when I went up there for their home opener and they saw the first game. It's definitely a different style of hockey that they're used to, but they're definitely not complaining because it's definitely an entertaining brand of hockey. So in recap for Players of the Week, the SGU MVP of the week, Stephen Kessler for the Battleford North Stars, 4 goals, 1 assist, like you mentioned, Rory. Defenseman of the week, Wilson Steele, also from the Battleford North Stars. Sasktel Goalie of the week, no surprise, Caleb Allen, allowing 1 goal, shutout. He had a goal, unbelievable. Can't ask for much more. And then, of course, the Direct West Rookie of the week is Francois Xavier Bedard. So there are your Players of the Week for the SJHL as of yesterday. These next 3 days of the showcase, and then the rest of the week will be for next week's Players of the Week. But we got to get into the games here, the showcase today. 4 games. It's a jam-packed day of hockey. The game behind us is almost complete. Let's talk about it. We got to watch the first little bit of it, and right now it's 9-3 for the Humboldt Broncos. A pretty dominant performance, but maybe just speak to the Broncos. Obviously now they're going to be improving to 4-0.
4-0, yeah. They'll join the Battleford North Stars and the Yorkton Terriers, the only undefeated teams, and they all have the exact same record. They've blown the doors off this one. They're out shooting Larange 42-23 and winning 9-3, but to be honest with you, I was sitting right in this chair behind me watching the first 10 minutes of the game. I thought it was sloppy. I thought the Broncos were missing their passes, missing their marks, their power play, got one shot on 2 attempts. But that's what you expect. It's a 10:30 in the morning game. And Humboldt wasn't here yesterday, so they left on the bus 6:30 this morning to come. Of course, it's not that far, only an hour and a half. But I think it was just they needed to get their legs under them at 10:30. And then Larange got the game's opening goal. It was the first time Humboldt conceded the game's opening goal this season. But you could kind of see the ice getting slanted a bit later on throughout the second half of the first period, definitely through the second, and now in the third, where they've scored 4 goals here in the third period.
You kind of have to expect that for the 10:30 a.m. games for both today, tomorrow, and for Wednesday. You know, 10:30 for these guys.
Man, it's tough.
You know, this isn't Adam hockey. These guys aren't used to playing at 10:30. They're you know, creatures of habit, right? You know, there's a 2-hour pregame routine and everything like that. So you kind of expect the first 10 minutes of these 10:30 games to maybe be a bit sloppy. Of course, you mentioned also, you know, Humboldt had to drive in this morning. Larange played yesterday too here at the showcase. So tough outing for the Larange Ice Wolves, but no Dawson Smith in between the pipes.
No Dawson Smith. The Broncos just put up their 10th goal of the game here, so they hit double digits. It's a showing for them. I just got to go back to what you said, or you asked me, what does having the 4 lines that can roll do?
Prime example.
It was only 1-0, about 6 minutes left in the first period for the Larange Ice Wolves. Humboldt scored 2 late in the first period, but as the game goes on, it wears on the defense of the team, and you're seeing it here in the they've had 6 goals in the third period. It is tantalizing having that pressure. New people, and no forward lines getting tired because they're rolling them.
Yeah, 100%. The Larange Ice Wolves, this is their final game here at the SJHL Showcase. The Humboldt Broncos will be in action tomorrow night as they take on the defending SJHL champions, the Estevan Bruins, and actually we have the call.
That's right.
We have the call for that game. So you can tune in to Sasktel Max for that one. Next game today, after this one, we talked with Matt Hare about it. It is the Yorkton Terriers going up against the Kindersley Clippers. Yorkton looking to try and go to 5-0, and I'm sure for Yorkton, they probably want to go into that lengthy break on a winning note, because I couldn't imagine, you know, going into a break like that, a 10-day break, coming off potentially a tough loss. So what do you expect, I guess, from this matchup? Because you have 2 teams at kind of different ends of the spectrum right now.
This is a leave-it-all-out-there game for the Yorkton Terriers, 100%. Not that any game shouldn't be a leave-it-all-out-there game, but it's a showcase. It's the final chance in front of all the scouts. You're undefeated, and you don't play for 11 days. It's a leave-it-all-out-there game. It doesn't matter how tired you are from playing yesterday in a really tough game against the Nipawin Hawks. But we heard Matt Hare talk about the Kindersley Clippers. They've lost twice in the shootout. They've been lost once to or 1-goal game to the Battleford North Stars, 1-goal game to the Melville Millionaires. They're in it. It's there. It's there, and we know it's there. They have 6 returning defensemen. They got a lot of talent up front. Of course, Aiden Bangs, Matt Mazzocchi, the young 16-year-old Brock Evans. I just think they need to find a way to put it together. Is the Yorkton Terriers one of the, it's not an easy game by any means. They're undefeated, right? So is it going to be tough for the Kindersley Clippers? I just think you can't dwell on the fact you're looking for your first win. It's a showcase. You know you got some talent, and you're there. You're there. It's one extra step. It's one extra smart choice, smart read, and now you're winning that game by 1 instead of losing it.
Yeah, so it should be a very interesting
I think it's going to be close. I think 1 goal again.
I think
a
so
1-goal game.
I think Kindersley's a lot better than the record shows right now.
Yes.
And that comes back to, I think, also, too, it's so early that you don't want to make any judgments just yet on any teams. But yeah, Kindersley's been in 3 of their 4 games, very tight, and we'll see if they can get the job done at 1:30 this afternoon. Now, the next game features the Melville Millionaires. Hey, they're coming off their first win of the season over the Kindersley Clippers in that shootout as they take on the Notre Dame Hounds. 2 teams that, not off to the greatest starts yet this year, but both teams looking for their second win of the season.
Yeah, this one's going to be fun.
I think so, too. Yeah.
You got Noah Wills up front. Notre Dame's going to have to try to close him out somehow.
Yeah.
And then you got Will Dawson on the other side. I think two really talented players that are in their breakout season this year. They both showed last year in their rookie year really these guys to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're going to be asked to lead the offense.
Yes.
Dawson for the Hounds, Wills for the Melville Millionaires.
100%.
So keep your eye on those two players in this game. And again, it's both teams that I wouldn't say starting behind the 8 ball.
No.
They're just, they're still trying to get some more consistency throughout their game. And, a chance to go up one another is a chance to find that.
Yeah, one of those teams is going to get their second win of the season. And then finally, to close out day 2 of the SJHL Showcase, I think we have a really interesting matchup here. The Flynn Flawn Bombers taking on the Wayburn Red Wings. Obviously, we mentioned Flynn Flawn's kind of struggles on the offensive note so far this season, just 5 goals in 3 games. Going up against a Wayburn Red Wings squad who put up a 9 spot in their last game. So what do you kind of expect from this matchup? Because this one for me is very intriguing.
Well, I mean, Wayburn averages 4.67 goals per game now, thanks to that 9-goal outpouring. And Flin Flon doesn't. They average 1.7.
Yeah.
So, I think Flin Flon is a good opportunity for them. Wayburn, yes, they've had a great start, but Flin Flon was at the finals last year. The returning players know they can win. They have a lot of them on their lineup. Their defense is still strong. Laser Humes played fantastic in net. Flin Flon just needs something to go right for them and then watch out because they're there. It's a little bit of a Centennial Cup hangover. There's a lot of hockey played.
100%.
Where the Wayburn Red Wings didn't. They didn't make the playoffs. And now they come out flying. You got Kirk Mullen. You got Ty Mason already, dropping the mitts, scoring goals. He'll score 2 on you and then, stick you in the gut. He's that type of player, and I love it. But, I think for Flin Flon, just don't get demoralized.
Yeah.
You have it. You were in the finals last year in Game 7, 1 game away from winning the championship.
Yeah.
And Jaden Mercier, Jackson Martins, Cole Dupro, all the returning players, just keep it going. If they pick up a win, they're not a team that I want to face once they find it.
No.
They're not. And for the Wayburn Red Wings, 9-2 over Estevan. You're close against Yorkton, the undefeated team. There, Cody Mapes has that team playing with heart, and they have them playing collectively together. I think, it's a great start, but they've got to keep it going as well.
I know speaking with Cody Mapes for our season previews on SJHL.ca, he strongly felt, he thought the Wayburn Red Wings were going to surprise a lot of people this season. And, so far, they've been outstanding.
Kirk Mullen, man, watch this guy. Kirk Mullen, again, we talk Kessler underrated. Mullen is he's a player. He is a player, man.
And I'm personally a big fan of Goche up front as well.
Yeah.
When you're drafted,
professional lacrosse player,
first-round draft pick, Panther City. Nugsy made the joke, I think, last week. Better cover him behind the net.
That's right.
Because he'll be a weapon for sure. I guess before we wrap up this episode of SJHL Weekly, Rory, final thoughts, I guess, on day 2. What are you looking forward to here today and the rest of the week here at the showcase?
I loved it how all the schools came down first and
Awesome.
foremost. Every section was filled with 40 kids. They were cheering every time there was 2 players come together. They would be like, fight, fight. It was just,
I was worried
I just loved the energy.
I was worried we weren't going to have any hearing by the end of the game, to be honest.
So I'm assuming more schools are going to come by tomorrow morning as well to take in the early game. I love the showcase. I love the broadcasts. I love, the Legend Center in Warman. The hospitality is fantastic.
Yeah.
And some of these players, because of these 2 games, are going to continue their hockey career. And that's what it's all about. It's about moving players on into post-secondary hockey, into education, U Sports, D1, D3, ACA, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Wherever they find landing spots, that's what it's about. And this event is able to spur that momentum forward. And I just wish the best for all the players trying to secure that position.
I couldn't have said it better myself. 100%. And that's what obviously the SJHL wants. They want to be able to push players on to the next level, and an event like this gives them that opportunity. Now, before we go, we got to give a big shout out first off to the Legend Center for playing host to the SJHL Showcase, and then of course our broadcast for the SJHL Weekly. We couldn't have done it obviously without the great people here at the Legend Center, but a big shout out to all of our sponsors: Chevrolet, Viterra, RBC, Sasktel, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Tourism Saskatchewan. It has been a great first day and a bit, I guess that's the best way of putting it. We got 4 games today, so it's going to be a long day.
And you'll be back tomorrow with another show.
And we are going to be back tomorrow with another show. Obviously, you're probably wondering, Hey guys, where's Jamie? We saw him walk through the broadcast. Well, Jamie's currently doing the game behind us on Sasktel Max, where you can watch every SJHL Showcase game. He's on the broadcast right now. You guys are going to switch roles because you got the 10:30 game tomorrow morning.
Yeah, got the early start. You know, make sure we get the bed legs out and the the cobwebs up top.
Yeah,
got to get some coffee in and
a lot of coffee.
Yeah, great game tomorrow morning as well. We got 3 games now down and 9 to go in the showcase. We're just rolling through. We're only 30% done.
Yeah, we're rolling through, to say the least. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon here at the Legend Center. The first game's just about to end. But that'll do it for us. For Rory McGoran, my name is Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another edition of SJHL Weekly on all of the SJHL social media platforms.